People will forget most of the words you ever say. They'll forget your clever quotes. They'll forget your impressive vocabulary. But they will never forget how you made them feel in your presence. That's the unspoken truth about influence. If you want to grow in life, succeed in relationships, advance in your career, lead people, and build trust anywhere you go, you must grow in one thing: your ability to understand people and respond in a way that makes sense to them. This is what I call social intelligence mastery. It's not about tricks. It's not about reading a book of conversation hacks and repeating lines. It's not about manipulating people into liking you. That's shallow, and people see through it. This is about understanding people at a deeper level, learning to read the invisible signals, feeling the unspoken emotions, and knowing when to speak, when to listen, and when to simply be present. The truth? Most people don't know how to read the room. They miss the subtle signs. They talk over emotion without noticing it. They respond too fast, often saying something that doesn't land right. Then they wonder why they can't connect. Here's the good news: you can learn this. Like any skill, it can be trained. And when you do, you will be amazed at how people respond to you without even knowing why. This is your first step. This is where the foundation of influence is laid. If you want to understand how people think, feel, and connect, you must begin with something so basic it almost feels too simple. Eye contact. But not just any eye contact. Not the quick glance before you check your phone. Not the distracted half-second before looking away. I'm talking about real, grounded, present eye contact, the kind that says, "I am here with you. You matter right now." Trust doesn't start with words. It begins before the first sentence leaves your lips. It begins with how you look at someone. We live in a world where direct, honest eye contact is becoming rare. People are constantly looking down, into a screen, into a distraction, into anything but the person in front of them. And because of that, trust is getting harder to build. Think about it. How many conversations in your life have felt hollow because the other person's eyes kept darting away? How often have you felt someone wasn't really there with you? That lack of presence breaks connection before it even starts. When you look someone in the eye, do it with calmness, not with an intense stare that makes them uncomfortable. Do it with quiet confidence and stillness. Keep your gaze steady, not shifting to check the clock, not scanning the room. Just there. Why is this so powerful? Because people feel it. They feel when you're actually with them. They sense when you're not pretending, not rehearsing what to say next, but actually seeing them. That moment of being seen is a signal of safety. It says, "You matter. I'm here." From the time we were infants, we looked into our mother's eyes to feel safe. We searched for reassurance there. And guess what? That never stops. As adults, we still seek it, only now we're less obvious about it. But it's there, buried deep in our psychology. Eye contact does something else. It changes you. It forces you to stand in truth. Pushes you to be present. It removes the escape routes of distraction and forces you to hold the moment. That's why so many people avoid it, because eye contact exposes both people. It strips away pretenses. Some people fear it because they're nervous, insecure, or afraid of saying the wrong thing. But the truth is, you don't need the perfect words. You need presence. You need to stay steady. People won't remember every sentence you say, but they will remember the feeling they had around you. When you start giving real eye contact, something happens. Your awareness sharpens. You begin to notice micro-expressions. A tiny twitch at the corner of the mouth, a quick blink before they answer, a slight hesitation. These aren't random. They are signals. They are unspoken truths. Most people miss them because they're too busy thinking about their next sentence. But when your eyes are steady, your mind follows. You see things others miss. And now you're not just listening. You're reading. And when you can read people, you can respond to what's actually going on. Not just what they're saying. This is where connection deepens. This is where trust builds without words. But here's the discipline. Don't wait until it feels easy. Make it a daily habit. Look the cashier in the eye when you buy coffee. Look your coworker in the eye when you ask how their day is. Look your partner in the eye when they're speaking, without the TV or phone stealing your attention. Small moments, daily practice. Over time, this will become part of who you are. And when it does, people will naturally trust you more. Not because of your title, not because of your resume, but because your presence says you're safe here. That's influence. That's leadership. And that's where mastery begins. Most people think communication starts with talking. They believe it's about getting your voice heard, about being loud enough to make your point. They're wrong. The real power in communication starts with observation. It grows when you speak less. We live in a culture obsessed with noise. Everyone is trying to post more, say more, share more. But the smartest, most influential people in any room are rarely the ones talking the most. They're the ones who notice the most. They walk into a space and their eyes scan, not in judgment but in awareness. They catch what others miss. They listen beyond words. If you want to connect deeply, start by speaking less. Why? Because when you're always thinking about your next sentence, you're not really hearing the one that's being spoken to you. When you stay quiet, you start to hear the emotion behind the words. You notice the shift in someone's posture when a certain topic comes up. You hear the pause before they answer. You sense when their tone doesn't match their words. That's the gold. That's where truth lives. It's about creating space for truth to show up. There's a discipline in holding your words back just long enough to truly understand. And in that pause, you build trust because people feel your attention. Full attention is rare in our world. Most people don't even notice when they're distracted. They're so used to splitting their focus. But the human mind is wired to respond to presence. When you give it, people open up. You can build a powerful reputation just by being the person who actually listens. Here's the thing most people don't realize. Silence is not weakness. It's not a sign you have nothing to say. It's not a lack of intelligence. Silence, when used with purpose, is one of the most powerful tools you will ever have in human connection. Think about the people you trust the most in your life. Chances are they are not the ones who interrupt you constantly. They're not the ones who rush to answer before you finish speaking. They're the ones who can sit with you, listen fully, and let you talk until you're done. And when they do speak, it's thoughtful. It's relevant. It's exactly what was needed in that moment. You see, speaking less doesn't make you invisible. It makes your words matter. Because in a world full of constant talking, your restraint stands out. Most people fail at this because they've trained themselves to react instantly. Someone talks, they feel they have to respond immediately. Someone asks a question, they feel pressure to answer before they've even processed what's being said. That's not connection, that's performing. And people can feel the difference. Real connection happens when you stop thinking about your turn to speak and start thinking about how deeply you can understand the other person before you speak. Observation is not passive. It's active, intentional, deliberate. When you're listening beyond words, you're not just catching the literal meaning. You're reading tone. You're noticing body language. You're registering whether the person's energy shifts when certain topics arise. This is the kind of detail that allows you to respond with precision instead of generalities. It's the difference between saying something generic like, "I understand," versus being able to say something that makes the other person pause and think, "Wow, they really get me." But here's the secret, you can't fake this. People know when you're pretend listening. They know when you're waiting for them to finish so you can talk. They know when your attention is split. If you want to be unforgettable in conversations, you have to give them your whole attention, your eyes, your ears, and your presence. Words are the surface. Tone is the ocean underneath. If you want to master social intelligence, you must learn to listen not only to what people say, but how they say it, especially when it comes to simple, everyday phrases. Because here's the truth. People reveal more in their tone when saying something ordinary than when they're making a big speech. Someone might say, "I'm fine" in words, but their voice is tight, their tone clipped, and their pace faster than normal. That's not fine. That's a warning sign. They might say "sure" in response to your request, but whether it's relaxed, hesitant, annoyed, or sarcastic will tell you everything you need to know about what they actually mean. Most people miss this because they only process the literal content of the sentence. They treat tone as background noise instead of the main channel of communication it really is. If you want to understand people at a deeper level, you need to tune in to pace. Are they speaking faster than usual? Are they slowing down? Volume. Are they quieter than normal? Have they suddenly raised their voice? Rhythm. Do they pause more often? Are their sentences abrupt? Consistency. Does their tone match their words? Or is there a disconnect? These are emotional fingerprints, clues to what's really going on. You can't catch tone changes if your mind is racing. You need internal stillness. You need to slow your own thoughts so you can truly hear what's coming at you. This isn't about judgment. It's not about jumping to conclusions. It's about awareness. When you start noticing these small shifts, you gain an advantage. You'll know when someone is holding back. You'll sense when someone is uneasy about a decision. You'll hear fatigue in a voice that says, "It's all good." And when you respond to what's felt instead of just what's said, people notice. They feel understood in a way they rarely do. That builds loyalty. That builds trust. That builds a reputation for being the kind of person who just gets it. If tone is the ocean under the words, silence is the current you can't see. But it moves everything. Most people think communication ends when words stop. They couldn't be more wrong. Silence always has meaning. Always. It might mean discomfort. It might mean thoughtfulness. It might mean hesitation. It might mean pain. The difference between socially average people and socially intelligent people is that the latter know how to read it, and they know not to panic when it happens. When someone falls silent, most people rush to fill the gap. They crack a joke. They change the subject. They ask another question too quickly. What they don't realize is that by doing that, they might be shutting down the very moment where truth was about to surface. If you want to build real connection, you need to learn to stay steady in silence. Let it breathe. When you give someone the space to be silent without pressure, you create an environment where they can think, process, and decide to share more honestly. Silence is a test, not for them, but for you. It's a test of your patience, your presence, and your ability to be there without needing constant verbal feedback. When you can pass that test, people will start telling you things they don't tell anyone else. Not because you dragged it out of them, but because your stillness made it safe. Silence is never random. It's a signal, a pause in the flow of connection that always means something if you're willing to pay attention. Sometimes silence is a shield. A person might be protecting themselves from judgment. They might be calculating whether it's safe to share what they're really thinking. They might be silently measuring you, watching how you handle the quiet before they decide whether they can trust you. Other times, silence is grief. It's pain that can't be put into words yet. It's the heaviness of an experience that's still being processed. And sometimes, silence is wisdom. Some of the most grounded, thoughtful people you'll ever meet are the ones who speak less because they know the value of timing. They don't rush to fill every gap. They let moments breathe. But if you assume silence means nothing is happening, you'll miss everything. To master this, you must make peace with stillness. If you can't sit in a moment without talking, you'll never learn to see what's really there. Here's the truth. Most people fear silence because they think it makes them look awkward or like they've run out of things to say. But in reality, silence can make you look stronger. Why? Because it shows you're not desperate to fill every moment. It shows you can be present without rushing, without forcing, without losing your composure. When someone goes silent, watch the shift in their eyes. Watch their breathing. Watch whether they fidget, whether they retreat into themselves, or whether they simply close their eyes for a second as if gathering their thoughts. Every one of those is a clue, and if you don't rush, they might just reveal what's behind it. Practical exercise. Next time someone is quiet, count to 3 in your mind before speaking. Give the space a little more room than feels natural. Often, they'll fill it with something they hadn't planned to say. And that's when the real conversation begins. Here's a hard truth. Most people don't feel understood. They go through conversations giving rehearsed answers to questions they've been asked 1,000 times. How's work? Fine. How are you? Good. Busy day? Yeah. Surface. Automatic. Forgettable. If you want to connect with someone in a way they remember, you have to break that pattern. You have to ask real questions. Not questions designed to trap them into talking. Not questions meant to make you sound clever. Questions that come from genuine curiosity, from an actual desire to understand. Here's the key. Real questions don't have to be complicated. They just have to show that you heard what they just said and that you care about what's underneath it. Instead of, "How's work?" Try, "What's been the most challenging part of your week so far?" Instead of, "How are you?" Try, "What's been on your mind most lately?" Instead of, "Busy day?" Try, "What's taken most of your energy today?" These kinds of questions force the mind to stop running on autopilot. They invite thought. They invite honesty. They signal, "I'm here to hear the real answer." The golden rule of real questions. Once you ask it, stop talking. Don't cut them off. Don't rush to relate with your own story. Don't try to fix their problem. Just let them answer. When someone feels safe enough to tell you the truth, you've entered rare territory. That's when walls come down. That's when trust grows. And here's the part people miss. If you jump in too fast, you kill that moment. Real connection lives in the space between their words and your response. Why this works: when you ask deep but simple questions, you give people a gift most of them don't get: permission to be seen. Most people walk through life feeling invisible. Like no one really notices what they're going through unless they make it obvious. Your questions are a signal. I see you without you having to shout for attention. That's what makes you unforgettable. Now let's talk about the skill that will either make or break your influence. The ability to stay calm when people push your buttons. Anyone can look confident when everything's going their way. Anyone can be polite when people are nice to them. But the real test is what you do when you feel provoked, disrespected, or challenged. Because here's the reality: you will be tested. Every single day. Someone will cut you off mid-sentence. Someone will throw a passive-aggressive comment your way. Someone will say something so obviously wrong that your instinct will be to correct them immediately. And in those moments, your reaction decides everything. If you snap back, if you match their energy, if you let emotion take the wheel, you give them control. But if you pause, breathe, and respond from a place of clarity, you keep it. This is not about letting people walk over you. It's about deciding when and how to respond in a way that serves you instead of serving their need for drama. Most conflicts don't actually come from the initial problem. They come from the reactions that follow. Words are said in heat. Voices rise. Egos get involved. And suddenly you're dealing with a situation 10 times bigger than it needed to be. When you train yourself to slow down your reaction, you gain several advantages instantly. Clarity. You see the situation for what it is, not what your emotions are painting it as. Control. You set the tone instead of letting them set it for you. Respect. People notice you don't get rattled easily, and that commands trust. The next time someone pushes your patience, try this. Pause for 2 seconds before you speak. Take one slow breath. Ask yourself, does this need a response right now? You'd be surprised how often the answer is no. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not give someone the reaction they were hoping for. One of the most underrated social skills is knowing how to adjust your presence to the environment you walk into. This is not about being fake. It's about being aware. Every room has an energy, a rhythm, a tone, a mood. If you ignore it and bulldoze in with whatever vibe you're carrying, you risk disconnecting before you've even started. If you walk into a serious, focused environment and start cracking loud jokes, you'll be seen as out of touch. If you walk into a high-energy celebration and stay stiff and closed off, you'll be seen as distant or unfriendly. Neither of those is the impression you want. Before you try to add to the room, take a moment to understand it. Notice how people are speaking: fast, slow, formal, casual. The volume, quiet discussion or lively chatter. The posture, relaxed or tense. The faces, serious, smiling, distracted. From there, adjust your tone, your pace, your body language. It's not about mirroring every detail. It's about showing you respect the space you've walked into. The person who can adapt without losing themselves is the person everyone wants around. Because that person makes people feel at ease. They don't make the room work to accommodate them. They meet the room where it is. Here's one of the fastest ways to destroy trust, ruin opportunities, and shrink your influence. Make every disagreement about winning. If your focus in a tense conversation is to be right rather than to understand, you've already lost something much more valuable: respect. Here's the truth. You can win an argument and still lose the relationship. You can win a verbal battle but burn the bridge you needed for the future. Most people don't get this. They're so caught up in defending their pride that they forget why they were having the conversation in the first place. Wisdom doesn't mean avoiding hard conversations. It doesn't mean letting people walk over you. It means choosing your words so they build instead of break. It means understanding that you don't have to respond to everything instantly. It means slowing down and asking yourself, will my response move us forward? Do I want connection here? Or do I just want to feel like I won? If the answer is that you just want to win, stop. Because when you argue to win, you're not listening anymore, you're just waiting for your turn to strike. And the moment you stop listening, you lose the chance to influence. Arguments aren't always about the topic, they're about ego. Most people raise their voice because they feel unseen. They interrupt because they're afraid they'll lose their chance to be heard. They throw sharp words because they think it proves strength. But the truth? Losing control in an argument proves the opposite. It shows that you're being driven by emotion, not clarity. Sometimes the wisest response you can give is silence. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you know that saying it now will do more damage than good. Sometimes the best move is to acknowledge the other person's point instead of trying to bulldoze over it. Sometimes it's about asking a question instead of firing back with a statement. Questions calm people down. Statements escalate. When you ask, "Why do you feel that way?" you open a door. When you declare, "You're wrong," you slam it shut. Think of the people you respect most. Are they the ones who always win arguments? Or are they the ones who handle tension with presence, who respond thoughtfully under pressure, who keep the conversation from turning into a war? The answer is obvious. It's not about winning, it's about keeping the bridge intact. There will be days when you walk into a room and feel the tension in the air before anyone says a word. Someone's frustrated. Someone's anxious. Someone's ready to snap. You can almost hear the stress even if no one is talking about it. And here's the danger. If you don't control yourself, you will absorb that emotion like a sponge. You'll match their energy without even realizing it. Most people unconsciously mirror the emotions around them. Someone's angry? They get defensive. Someone's panicked? They start rushing. Someone's complaining? They join in. But when you do that, you lose your ability to lead the moment. Instead of setting the tone, you're letting the room set it for you. If you want to be someone people trust when things get messy, you must learn to be the calmest person in the room when emotions get loud. Your breathing should slow down, not speed up. Your voice should lower, not rise. Your thoughts should sharpen, not scatter. This isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about not letting those feelings control your actions. Calm is a choice, and every time you choose it, you strengthen your influence. When tension is high, most people expect escalation. They expect you to meet their anger with anger, their speed with speed. But when you stay grounded, you break the pattern. You slow the spiral. You create space for better decisions to be made. That's why leaders are remembered for how they handle chaos, not for how they act when everything is easy. Every person you meet is wired differently. Some open up quickly. Some guard themselves for months before they let you in. Some respond best to directness. Others need gentleness and time. If you treat everyone the same, you will limit your ability to connect. Social intelligence is not about changing who you are. It's about expanding how you communicate so you can meet people where they are. It's about noticing that the approach you used with one person may not work with another. It's about being curious enough to adjust, not to manipulate, but to respect their style of connection. When people feel you've adapted to understand them, they trust you more. They feel safe. They open up faster. And when that happens, your conversations get more honest, your relationships get stronger, and your influence grows naturally. Pace, slow down with people who think before they speak. Speed up with people who thrive on momentum. Tone, soften it with someone who's guarded. Sharpen it with someone who respects directness. Energy, match their level when building rapport. then lead them into the energy you want to create. There's no finish line here. The most socially intelligent people are always adjusting, always learning, always getting better at reading and responding to others. They don't assume they've figured people out. They keep showing up with curiosity and humility. Because the quality of your connections will always shape the quality of your life. That brings this rewrite to a close. From eye contact to silence, from tone to timing, from reacting less to connecting more, every chapter here is a tool. And the more you practice them, the more they become part of you. Not tactics, not tricks, habits. Habits that make you the kind of person people trust, respect, and remember, not for what you said, but for how you made them feel. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forms of communication. Most people see it as nothing happening. The socially intelligent person knows it's often when the most important things are being said, just without words. Think about it. When a conversation hits a pause, something has shifted. That pause is not empty, it's full of meaning, and the meaning depends entirely on context. Sometimes, silence is hesitation. The other person is weighing their words carefully, deciding if it's safe to reveal what's really on their mind. Sometimes, silence is shock. Something unexpected has been said, and they need a moment to process before responding. Sometimes, silence is protection. They might be guarding their emotions, keeping themselves from revealing too much. And sometimes, silence is trust. The other person feels so comfortable with you that they don't need to fill the space just to keep things moving. Most people panic when things get quiet. They think, this is awkward, and rush to fill the gap. In doing so, they break the natural flow of the conversation and often miss the deeper truth that was about to surface. Silence is not your enemy, it's your ally. It gives you a chance to read what's going on underneath. The socially intelligent person learns to sit in the quiet without flinching. They know how to breathe through it. They know how to hold the space. Watch the eyes. Do they drop their gaze? Are they avoiding yours, or are they locking in deeper? Both mean something different. Notice the body. Are they leaning back, closing off, or leaning in, waiting for you to lead? Feel the air. Yes, silence has a weight. Sometimes it feels light, sometimes heavy. Don't ignore that feeling, it's a cue. Silence is also a test of your patience. If you break it too quickly, you're showing that you need to control the interaction instead of understanding it. But if you can stay calm, the other person might take the silence as an invitation to speak more honestly than they originally intended. If silence is the door, real questions are the key that opens it. Most people stick to surface-level questions. How's your day? What's new? How have you been? They're fine for small talk, but they rarely lead anywhere meaningful. Real connection comes from questions that make people stop and think. Questions that pull them out of autopilot. Questions that say, I'm not here to waste this moment with you. A powerful question has 3 elements. Relevance, it connects to something they just said or something you know matters to them. Simplicity, it's clear and easy to answer without them feeling interrogated. Depth, it touches an emotion, memory, or belief beneath the surface. Instead of, busy week, try, what's been the most challenging part of your week? Instead of, everything okay? Try, what's been weighing on you lately? Instead of, you good? Try, what's one thing you wish you could tell someone right now? The difference is in the intention. Surface questions keep things shallow. Real questions build bridges. If you ask a real question and then check your phone while they answer, you've killed the moment. If you interrupt to give your own story, you've turned the spotlight back on yourself. Real questions only work if you stay fully present for the answer. And when someone does open up, your job is not to fix them. Your job is to be there. Listen. Let them finish. Hold the moment with respect. This is rare. Most people listen just enough to respond, not enough to understand. If you can reverse that habit, you will become the kind of person people seek out when they need clarity, safety, or truth. Nothing will test your social intelligence more than being provoked. It's easy to be composed when everyone's polite. It's easy to be calm when things go your way. It's when someone challenges you, disrespects you, or pushes your boundaries that your discipline gets measured. The moment you let someone's behavior dictate your reaction, you've handed them control. If they can make you snap, they can control your emotions. If they can throw you off your game with one comment, they own the moment. True strength is in not giving them that power. This doesn't mean staying silent forever. It means choosing when and how you respond. You can still stand up for yourself, without letting your voice shake, without rushing your words, without letting their energy set your tone. When you respond from calm, you not only protect your dignity, you also keep the upper hand. When someone pushes you, take a slow breath before responding. Ask yourself, will reacting right now help or hurt this situation? If it will hurt, delay your response until you've regained composure. This short pause changes everything. It gives your rational mind time to catch up before your emotions speak for you. People notice when you don't take the bait. They see that you're not easy to shake. And in a world where most people explode at the first sign of pressure, that makes you stand out as a leader. One of the most underrated skills in human interaction is knowing how to carry the right energy into the right space. This is not about being fake or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about respecting the environment you walk into and understanding the people in it. Every room, every conversation, every interaction has a rhythm, an emotional temperature. If you ignore that, you risk making others feel uncomfortable, misunderstood, or disconnected from you before you've even said much. Most people enter every space with the exact same approach. They have a default tone, a default pace, a default level of energy, and they use it everywhere. They bring high-energy jokes into a serious, focused environment. They speak in a slow, measured way when the room is alive with enthusiasm and momentum. They enter a tense conversation with careless casualness, making people think they don't understand the gravity of the situation. The result? The connection never lands. Before you start talking, observe. Ask yourself, how loud is the conversation here? Are people leaning forward in excitement or leaning back in thought? Is there laughter in the air or tension? Are people speaking quickly, overlapping each other, or are they taking long pauses between sentences? These signals are your guide. They tell you how to adjust, not to mimic exactly, but to meet people halfway so they feel you understand where they are. When you meet someone's energy level, you send a subconscious signal. I understand you. I'm on your wavelength. From there, you can gradually guide the energy toward where you want it to go. Up if you need momentum, down if you need calm. But if you try to pull someone too far from where they currently are, they'll resist. People rarely follow someone they feel out of sync with. They lean toward those who get the moment. When conversations get tense, your instinct might be to prove yourself. You want to be right. You want to shut the other person down. You want the satisfaction of winning. But here's the paradox: if you focus on winning the argument, you often lose the relationship. In tense discussions, ask yourself, do I want to feel superior right now, or do I want to build a bridge? Is this about connection or domination? Will proving I'm right actually get me closer to my bigger goal? More often than not, the ego wants the short-term win while wisdom plays for the long-term gain. People who constantly need to win become exhausting to be around. Friends stop opening up. Coworkers stop bringing ideas. Loved ones start guarding themselves, afraid of being attacked. You don't build trust by overpowering someone verbally. You build it by making them feel safe to express themselves, even when you disagree. Instead of fighting to win, aim to understand. You can disagree without hostility. You can stand firm without raising your voice. You can keep the door open for future conversations instead of slamming it shut for the sake of feeling like you had the final say. That's real maturity. If you want to be truly influential, this one's non-negotiable. Stay calm when everyone else is losing it. Emotions spread like fire in a dry forest. If one person in the room panics, that energy can infect everyone. If one person gets angry, others start to match it. The key is to be the person whose calm is just as contagious. Control your breathing. Shallow breathing speeds up your thoughts. Slow breathing slows your mind. Lower your voice. This naturally lowers tension and draws people into listening instead of shouting over you. Ground your thoughts. Ask yourself, what outcome do I actually want here? People remember the one who stays grounded when things are chaotic. They start turning to you for stability, for perspective, for clarity. Calm isn't weakness, it's leadership without having to announce it. Every person is different. Some need space before they trust you. Some want warmth and enthusiasm right away. Some need you to be direct. Some need you to be gentle. If you treat everyone the same, your connections will be limited. Social intelligence isn't about abandoning who you are. It's about expanding the ways you can show up so more people can receive you. That means adjusting your tone for the situation, being willing to slow down or speed up, choosing curiosity over assumption. There's no point where you've mastered this and can stop learning. People will keep surprising you. Situations will keep challenging you. Your job is to stay humble enough to keep refining your approach. Because the quality of your life will always reflect the quality of your relationships. And your relationships will always reflect how well you can read, understand, and adapt to people. At the heart of social intelligence is one outcome. People feel safer with you than without you. That's it. Not impressed by you. Not entertained by you. Not in awe of you. Safe. Safe to speak without being judged. Safe to be themselves without performing. Safe to bring you their truth without worrying you'll weaponize it. Because here's the truth. People rarely remember the exact words you said, but they will always remember whether they felt safe or tense around you. You can be charismatic, witty, interesting, and still fail to connect if people don't feel safe with you. Charm can get you attention, but safety gets you loyalty. And safety isn't built in one big moment. It's built over dozens of small, consistent moments. Making eye contact without making them feel trapped. Listening without jumping in. Asking about what matters to them without prying. Respecting their silence without pressuring them to fill it. It's the little things that add up to someone deciding, I can trust this person. Respect is not something you demand. It's something you quietly earn through consistency. Every time you control your reactions, you earn respect. Every time you match the room instead of trying to dominate it, you earn respect. Every time you listen fully before speaking, you earn respect. And the people who respect you will follow your lead, not because you force them to, but because you've shown them you're worth following. People tell you things they don't tell others. They seek your perspective when they're unsure. They defend your name when you're not around. These things don't happen because you shouted the loudest. They happen because you became someone people feel better being around than away from. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead interactions. If you can't read your own emotions, you can't read others. If you can't control your own reactions, you'll always be reacting to other people's moods instead of influencing them. The self-awareness triangle: know your triggers, the people, situations, and tones that make you react too quickly. Recognize your defaults. Do you talk too much when nervous? Do you avoid eye contact when uncomfortable? Know these patterns. Practice the pause. Give your mind a fraction of a second to choose instead of react. Social intelligence is as much about managing yourself as it is about understanding others. Skills fade if you don't use them. Reading the room, listening beyond words, asking real questions. None of these matter if they remain things you know instead of things you do. You have to turn them into habits. The daily practice method: start small. Practice holding eye contact with the cashier. One adjustment at a time. Don't try to master tone, silence, and matching energy all at once. Reflect daily. After interactions, ask, what did I notice? What could I have done differently? This is how skills stick, through repetition and reflection. When you master social intelligence, the biggest change isn't external, it's internal. You become calmer in more situations. You feel less threatened by differences in opinion. You stop wasting energy on conflicts that don't matter. You see opportunities where others see obstacles because you know how to open doors with people. And in a world full of people trying to be heard, you'll stand out simply because you hear and see others in a way that feels rare. Everything you've read here is useless if it stays as information. The only way this changes your life is if you apply it. Daily, intentionally, relentlessly. So here's the challenge for the next 30 days. Look people in the eye without distraction. Speak less and listen more. Notice tone when simple things are said. Read silence without rushing to fill it. Ask at least one real question every day. Control your reactions when tested. Match your energy to the room. Respond with wisdom instead of ego. Stay calm when emotions get loud. Adjust your style to connect with different people. Do this, and you won't just get better with people. You'll transform how people experience you. And that will transform the opportunities, relationships, and influence that come your way. The truth is, people won't remember every conversation with you. They won't remember all your clever comebacks or perfectly timed stories. But they will remember how you made them feel in your presence. And when you master that, your words, your silence, your presence, you'll find that the world opens up to you in ways you never imagined. People will forget most of the words you ever say. They'll forget your clever quotes. They'll forget your impressive vocabulary. But they will never forget how you made them feel in your presence. That's the unspoken truth about influence. If you want to grow in life, succeed in relationships, advance in our career, lead people, and build trust anywhere you go, you must grow in one thing: your ability to understand people and respond in a way that makes sense to them. This is what I call social intelligence mastery. It's not about tricks. It's not about reading a book of conversation hacks and repeating lines. It's not about manipulating people into liking you. That's shallow and people see through it. This is about understanding people at a deeper level. Learning to read the invisible signals, feeling the unspoken emotions, and knowing when to speak, when to listen, and when to simply be present. The truth? Most people don't know how to read the room. They miss the subtle signs. They talk over emotion without noticing it. They respond too fast, often saying something that doesn't land right. Then they wonder why they can't connect. Here's the good news: you can learn this. Like any skill, it can be trained. And when you do, you will be amazed at how people respond to you without even knowing why. This is your first step. This is where the foundation of influence is laid. If you want to understand how people think, feel, and connect, you must begin with something so basic it almost feels too simple. Eye contact. But not just any eye contact. Not the quick glance before you check your phone. Not the distracted half-second before looking away. I'm talking about real, grounded, present eye contact, the kind that says, I am here with you. You matter right now. Trust doesn't start with words. It begins before the first sentence leaves your lips. It begins with how you look at someone. We live in a world where direct, honest eye contact is becoming rare. People are constantly looking down, into a screen, into a distraction, into anything but the person in front of them. And because of that, trust is getting harder to build. Think about it. How many conversations in your life have felt hollow because the other person's eyes kept darting away? How often have you felt someone wasn't really there with you? That lack of presence breaks connection before it even starts. When you look someone in the eye, do it with calmness, not with an intense stare that makes them uncomfortable. Do it with quiet confidence and stillness. Keep your gaze steady, not shifting to check the clock, not scanning the room, just there. Why is this so powerful? Because people feel it. They feel when you're actually with them. They sense when you're not pretending, not rehearsing what to say next, but actually seeing them. That moment of being seen is a signal of safety. It says, you matter. I'm here. From the time we were infants, we looked into our mother's eyes to feel safe. We searched for reassurance there. And guess what? That never stops. As adults, we still seek it, only now we're less obvious about it. But it's there, buried deep in our psychology. Eye contact does something else. It changes you. It forces you to stand in truth, pushes you to be present. It removes the escape routes of distraction and forces you to hold the moment. That's why so many people avoid it, because eye contact exposes both people. It strips away pretenses. Some people fear it because they're nervous, insecure, or afraid of saying the wrong thing. But the truth is, you don't need the perfect words. You need presence. You need to stay steady. People won't remember every sentence you say, but they will remember the feeling they had around you. Most people think communication starts with talking. They believe it's about getting your voice heard, about being loud enough to make your point. They're wrong. The real power in communication starts with observation. It grows when you speak less. We live in a culture obsessed with noise. Everyone is trying to post more, say more, share more. But the smartest, most influential people in any room are rarely the ones talking the most. They're the ones who notice the most. They walk into a space and their eyes scan, not in judgment but in awareness. They catch what others miss. They listen beyond words. If you want to connect deeply, start by speaking less. Why? Because when you're always thinking about your next sentence, you're not really hearing the one that's being spoken to you. When you stay quiet, you start to hear the emotion behind the words. You notice the shift in someone's posture when a certain topic comes up. You hear the pause before they answer. You sense when their tone doesn't match their words. That's the gold. That's where truth lives. It's about creating space for truth to show up. There's a discipline in holding your words back just long enough to truly understand. And in that pause, you build trust because people feel your attention. Full attention is rare in our world. Most people don't even notice when they're distracted. They're so used to splitting their focus. But the human mind is wired to respond to presence. When you give it, people open up. You can build a powerful reputation just by being the person who actually listens. And so on, flowing through every single chapter, seamlessly weaving in. Chapter 3, hearing what isn't said by noticing tone in ordinary moments. Chapter 4, reading silence without rushing to fill it. Chapter 5, asking real questions that unlock trust. Chapter 6, controlling your reactions when tested. Chapter 7, matching your energy to the room. Chapter 8, responding wisely instead of trying to win. Chapter 9, staying calm when emotions get loud. Chapter 10, adjusting your style to connect with all kinds of people. Chapter 11, becoming the person others feel safe around. Chapter 12, earning respect without asking for it. Chapter 13, building self-mastery first. Chapter 14, turning these skills into habits. Chapter 15, the hidden inner payoff of social intelligence. Chapter 16, the 30-day challenge to hardwire these skills. People will forget most of the words you ever say. They'll forget your clever quotes. They'll forget your impressive vocabulary. But they will never forget how you made them feel in your presence. That's the unspoken truth about influence. If you want to grow in life, succeed in relationships, advance in your career, lead people, and build trust anywhere you go, you must grow in one thing: your ability to understand people and respond in a way that makes sense to them. This is social intelligence mastery. It's not about tricks. It's not about repeating lines from a book. It's not about manipulating people into liking you. It's about understanding people at a deeper level. Learning to read the invisible signals, feeling the unspoken emotions, and knowing when to speak, when to listen, and when to simply be present. Most people don't know how to read the room. They miss the subtle signs. They talk over emotion without noticing it. They respond too fast, often saying something that doesn't land right. Then they wonder why they can't connect. The good news is you can learn this. Like any skill, it can be trained. And when you do, people will start responding to you differently, often without even knowing why. If you want to understand how people think, feel, and connect, you must begin with something simple. Eye contact. Not the quick glance before you check your phone. Not the distracted half-second before looking away. Real eye contact, the kind that says, I am here with you. You matter right now. Trust doesn't start with words. It starts with presence. And nothing communicates presence faster than how you look at someone. We live in a world where direct, honest eye contact is becoming rare. People are constantly looking down into a screen, into a distraction, into anything but the person in front of them. And because of that, trust is harder to build. Think about it. How many conversations have felt hollow because the other person's eyes kept darting away? When you look someone in the eye, do it with calmness, not an intense stare. Quiet confidence, stillness, steadiness. People feel when you're with them. They sense when you're not pretending, not rehearsing what to say next, but actually seeing them. That moment is a signal of safety. You matter. I'm here. Eye contact changes you too. It forces you to stand in truth, pushes you to be present. It removes escape routes of distraction and makes you hold the moment. Some people fear it because they're nervous or afraid of saying the wrong thing. But you don't need the perfect words. You need presence. People won't remember every sentence you say, but they will remember the feeling they had around you. Most people think communication starts with talking. They're wrong. The real power in communication starts with observation. It grows when you speak less. We live in a culture obsessed with noise. Everyone's trying to say more, post more, share more. But the most influential people are often the ones who notice the most. They catch what others miss. They listen beyond words. If you want to connect deeply, start by speaking less. When you're always thinking about your next sentence, you're not really hearing the one that's being spoken to you. When you stay quiet, you start to hear the emotion behind the words. You notice the shift in someone's posture when a certain topic comes up. You hear the pause before they answer. You sense when their tone doesn't match their words. That's where the truth is. This is not about silence for its own sake. It's about creating space for truth to show up. Hold your words long enough to understand. In that pause, you build trust because people feel your attention. Words are the surface. Tone is the ocean underneath. If you want to master social intelligence, you must learn to listen not just to what people say, but how they say it, especially in ordinary moments. People reveal more in their tone when saying something simple than when giving a big speech. They might say, "I'm fine" in words, but their voice is tight, clipped, faster than usual. That's not fine. They might say "sure," but their tone drips with reluctance. Most people miss this because they treat tone as background noise. If you want to understand people, tune in to pace, faster or slower than normal. Volume, softer or louder than usual. Rhythm, abrupt sentences or flowing speech. Consistency, does their tone match their words? Tone is an emotional fingerprint. Silence is never empty. It can mean hesitation, thoughtfulness, fear, or comfort. Most people panic when things go quiet and rush to fill the gap. In doing so, they break the moment where truth might have surfaced. If you want to build real connection, you need to be steady in silence. Let it breathe. When you give space for quiet without pressure, you make it safe for someone to share more honestly. Silence tests your patience. Break it too quickly and you show you need control. Hold it, and they may reveal something they hadn't planned to say. Small talk keeps things on the surface. Real questions create connection. Most people stick to, "How's your day?" or "What's new?" Autopilot questions with autopilot answers. Real connection comes from questions that make people pause. What's been the most challenging part of your week? What's been on your mind lately? What's something you wish more people understood about you? When you ask a real question, stop talking. Let them answer fully. Don't interrupt. Don't jump in with your own story. Let them feel the moment belongs to them. Anyone can look composed when it's easy. The test is when you're challenged. If someone pushes you, don't snap. Don't match their energy. That gives them control. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself if reacting right now serves you. Sometimes the strongest move is no reaction at all. People notice when you're not easy to shake, and that builds respect. Every environment has its own rhythm. Ignore it and you risk disconnecting before you've even started. Before speaking, observe. How loud is the conversation? Are people relaxed or tense? Is the energy high or low? Meet people where they are first. From there, you can guide the energy. People follow those who feel in sync with the moment. You can win an argument and still lose the relationship. If your focus is to be right, you stop listening. You argue to prove, not to connect. Instead, aim to understand. Ask questions instead of firing statements. Stand firm without hostility. Wisdom plays for the long-term win, trust, respect, and connection. Emotions spread quickly. If you match someone's anger or panic, you add fuel to the fire. Be the calm anchor. Breathe slower. Lower your voice. Focus on the outcome you want, not the emotions in the moment. Calm is leadership without having to announce it. Not everyone opens up the same way. Some need space. Some need warmth. Some respect directness. Others need gentleness. Flexibility in communication isn't about being fake. It's about being effective. The more you adapt, the more people feel understood, and the more they'll trust you. People remember safety more than charm. Safety is built through small, consistent actions. Eye contact without intimidation. Listening without judgment. Respecting silence. Asking without pressuring. When people feel safe with you, they'll trust you in ways they won't trust anyone else. Respect is earned through presence, restraint, and consistency. People respect the one who doesn't lose control under pressure, who listens before speaking, who keeps the bridge intact instead of burning it. You can't read others well if you can't read yourself. You can't lead interactions if you can't lead your own emotions. Know your triggers. Recognize your defaults. Practice the pause. Knowledge without action fades. Practice eye contact with strangers. Hold silence for 3 seconds longer. Ask one real question daily. Reflect on what you noticed and how you responded. When you master social intelligence, the biggest change isn't in others, it's in you. You'll become calmer, less reactive, more confident in any room. You'll see opportunities where others see obstacles because you know how to open doors with people. For the next 30 days, look people in the eye without distraction. Speak less and listen more. Notice tone in simple phrases. Read silence without rushing. Ask at least one real question daily. Control your reactions when tested. Match your energy to the room. Respond with wisdom, not ego. Stay calm when emotions are high. Adjust to connect with different personalities. Do this and you won't just get better with people. You'll change how people experience you, and that will change your life. That's social intelligence mastery. Not tricks, not scripts, habits. Habits that make you the kind of person people trust, respect, and remember, not for what you said, but for how you made them feel.